What's up, guys? We are back with a big Week 12 of college football picks for Saturday, November 16th. We have a great video for you today covering a ton of games and giving you my best leans on the side and over-under on each game. And we have a bunch of plays headed straight to the pinned comment. If you want to win all of your bets here in Week 12, hit that like button. It's good luck and shows support for the channel and all the hard work we're putting in every single day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our daily content, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on the value of the early lines. You can now also sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all NFL and college football videos and get their names up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Seeing that badge next to your comments keeps me fired up and motivated to make this channel even bigger and better. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NFL, college football, NBA, NCAA basketball, NHL, and the UFC. NCAA football has been one of our most profitable sports over the years, and we have a seasoned expert capper over there that has been killing it so far this season, and he has a bunch of premium picks already posted over at StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description if you're interested in signing up, and also to join our free email list to get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Also, if you're interested in peer-to-peer sports betting with only 1% juice, click the link in the description to check out betopenly.com, where you can make all of your favorite bets and even act as the house on parlays, where you only need one leg to win to cash your bet. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the number 23 Clemson Tigers going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Panthers. Clemson, guys, they come into this game 7-2 on the season, so not exactly what they had in mind. They just lost, not last week, the week before, they lost against Louisville 33-21, and last week played a very close game there at Virginia Tech. They eventually did come away with a 24-14 win, but it was looking a little bit sketchy there, especially in the first half where Clemson was shut out. Yeah, not a great game from them. Klubnik did end up with 3 touchdown passes, 1 interception, but only completed less than half of his passes, 16 of 34, guys. Not a great look. The running game carried them pretty aggressively, but 167 yards on 46 carries, really not, something to write home about. So yeah, not super pumped up on what we saw from that Clemson offense in that game. The defense was pretty good. Got to give them some credit. They forced 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. So yeah, 3 turnovers there. Pretty much the reason that Clemson won this game. They didn't give up very much to the run at all. Didn't give up much to the pass. Really, this was just a crazy defensive stand there by Clemson that really got them the win in this game. So we'll see if they've got a similar defensive effort up their sleeve for this one, guys. But things have not looked that hot for Clemson this season. So we're going to have to see what they can do here going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Panthers, who are also 7-2 on the season. They, unfortunately, for their fans, have lost the last 2 in a row. They lost at SMU 48-25. That was kind of a beatdown. And then their last time out, guys, they were playing at home against UVA. They lost in a close one, guys, 24-19. And yeah, Pitt, a team that, I'm not going to say they came out of nowhere this season, but they've had a pretty good year. We saw Holstein. He didn't have a great time last week. Yarnell came in. He only completed 4 out of 12 passes. He was picked off twice. Just a rough day out there. Desmond Reed was good in the ground attack for sure. 80 yards, 16 carries. Not too bad there. And overall, Pitt had 127 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown on 32 carries. So not terrible. They didn't turn the ball over via the fumble at all, but those 2 interceptions really cost them in the game. We didn't see anybody going particularly nuts there in the receiving game. And yeah, the kind of the strength of this Pittsburgh team, at least in that game, looked like their defense. They had a couple of interceptions. They didn't give up very much to the pass. They did a decent job against the run. In the end, they did give up 170 yards on the ground, but it took 45 carries for that to happen. So not that crazy of, running numbers. They didn't give up any big, receiving games to anyone. So yeah, a pretty decent day, honestly, by the Pitt defense. They're now out of the top 25. They were ranked 18th last week, now no longer in the top 25 after that loss. So definitely going to be a little bit of a mad team here. I'd say they'd be highly motivated. We see Pittsburgh, they are getting 11.5 in this one. We've got an over/under of 53. Clemson 5-4 against the spread, 5-4 to the under. Pitt 6-3 against the spread, and 5-4 to the under themselves. Guys, I like Pitt here in the points. The Panthers have taken a step back in their last 2 games, but we feel this bump in the road gives us the Panthers at a nice discount compared to where their value has been at previously. Pitt has generally been solid on their home field, beating teams like Syracuse, Cal, and West Virginia so far this year. Although Clemson might have one of the higher ceilings of any team in the ACC, we didn't love that the Tigers showed us what the Tigers showed us in their recent double-digit home loss against Louisville, and this will be a tough test for Clemson heading into the second leg of a tough back-to-back road trip. We see this as being a more competitive contest, much more competitive than where Vegas has set this spread, guys. So definitely give me the Panthers here plus 11.5. I also think there's significant value on this game in that under 53. I think we'd see offense at a little bit of a premium. Both teams have been playing low-scoring games recently, and neither offense has looked great. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Liberty Flames. They're going on the road here to take on the Massachusetts Minutemen. Liberty comes into this game fresh off a win over MTSU, a pretty solid game there by Liberty, a 37-17 win. So they'll definitely take that. Liberty, a team that's had a decent time this season. I'm not gonna say they've been elite or anything, but they've done some good things. We saw Salter have a nice day, 11-15, 154 yards, 2 passing touchdowns in the game against MTSU. So nothing, nothing too bad there, but the running game for Liberty just looks off the chain, guys. They had 339 rushing yards in that win, guys, on 50 carries. Crazy stuff. A couple of guys broke off 40-plus yard runs in the game. Like, this is a team that is more than happy and more than capable of just running it down your throat all the time. They're going to run the ball. That is their game plan, and it seems to be working right now. Things are absolutely cooking. They didn't have a single interception in that game. They did fumble it away twice, so something to work on there a little bit. That ball security seems to be a little bit sketchy, but overall, guys, if you're going to run the ball with that much success, you're going to be able to withstand having a couple turnovers because, my goodness, they were just dominant there on the ground. On defense, they did struggle a little bit against the pass. It wasn't anything insane necessarily. I mean, they gave up 2 passing touchdowns and 263 yards through the air, but they severely limited the Middle Tennessee rushing attack, so that was nice. They didn't give up any huge performances to any individual wide receivers, and they were able to generate 1 turnover there. So, yeah, definitely room for improvement there for the Liberty defense, but overall, I liked what I saw from Liberty. The Flames looked pretty good last week. I'd say those Flames were burning bright as they go on the road here to take on the Massachusetts Middlemen. They were not having a very good season. They're only 2-7 overall, so that's not great. Last week got blown out by Mississippi State, so yeah, obviously not a game they were supposed to be competitive in, and they ended up losing 46-20. But yeah, in conference play this season, I mean, they're an independent team, so I guess conference play doesn't really come into effect here, but only 2-7 on the season, just not having a great time. And last week, obviously playing on the road in a pretty tough environment, although, not against a team with a very good record. We didn't love what we saw from Massachusetts. Nothing going there in the passing game. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Only 136 passing yards. That's real weak stuff. It took them 50 carries to get to 199 yards out there on the ground, and they only had that 1 rushing touchdown. They did a decent job of holding onto the ball, only that 1 turnover, but the defense looked pretty bad, guys. No answer for the run, which is what Liberty is going to do to them, and very few answers for the pass, to be honest. They didn't generate any turnovers, which isn't a great look either. So, yeah, just not a great defensive team here in Massachusetts. Not a great offense. Just not a great team in general, guys. They're 106th in points against this season, and in points for, they are 120th. So, yeah, just not a very good Massachusetts team. That's why we see the Minutemen getting 14.5 points here. We've got an over-under of 51.5. Liberty, they're only 2-6 against the spread this season, so definitely due for some regression back towards a normal against the spread number. They are 4-3-1 to the under. UMass 1-5-1 against the spread and 5-4 to the under themselves. Guys, we're taking Liberty here minus 14.5. The Flames are a high ceiling team, but have had a hard time delivering on that potential this season. Obviously, earning a blowout in their last game makes us feel a lot better, and I expect a similar situation in this game. UMass has been bad this season for sure, and they don't even have an FBS win yet. They got blown out in their last game and are well below 100 in the nation in both offensive and defensive metrics. Liberty will have a big edge on offense, and we aren't worried about taking them here as a big road favorite. In terms of the over-under here, I'm leaning a little bit towards the under. Both teams like to run the ball, but this is definitely a spot where I'm much more confident in my pick against the spread. Guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. This is a great time to sign up at stumpthespread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our entire team of cappers covering NFL, college football, NBA, NHL, UFC, and NCAA basketball. It's been one of our most profitable sports over the years. We make things extremely easy for you with pick notifications directly to your phone and unit sizes assigned to each play so you can see where our confidence level is on every individual matchup. To test out the service before you buy, join our free email list to get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're new. And also, if you want to experience peer-to-peer sports betting while paying almost zero juice, click the link in the description and sign up at betopenly.com. The best peer-to-peer betting site out there. Now, guys, back to the games. Moving right along here, guys, we are looking at Coastal Carolina. They're going on the road to take on Marshall in this one. Coastal Carolina comes into this game 5-4 on the season, fresh off a nice win there over Appalachian State. They needed that win to snap a 3-game skid, but yeah, they're turning things around here a little bit. Not hating what I'm seeing from Coastal Carolina. I mean, a 38-24 win over Appalachian State, that's not too bad. Got to give them credit for that one. We didn't love what we saw from the passing game, in terms of, overall numbers, but efficiency was great, completing 14 of 18 passes for a touchdown and 150 yards. No interceptions there. Very, very key. This is a Coastal Carolina team that is concentrating on the running game, and I have very little problem with that, guys. They put up 203 yards on 41 carries and 4 rushing touchdowns last week. So very, very good stuff. Obviously, nobody going nuts there in the receiving game, but yeah, it took Braden Bennett only 9 carries to get 88 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. A dominant performance by him. We also saw Coastal Carolina turn the ball over 0 times in that game, so that is very, very key. That's what you love to see from these teams. Like, if you take care of the ball, like, things are going to work out for you in the long run. So loved what we saw from them on offense, guys, and on defense, giving up 24 points. Not a terrible performance. I mean, Appalachian State, not a great team, but not terrible. They're 4-5 on the year. Coastal Carolina came with a couple of interceptions, only gave up 226 passing yards. They did struggle a little bit against the run, so that's something of a concern. They gave up 150 rushing yards, but on 40 carries, that's not a terrible average. They didn't let any, one wide receiver go too nuts. And we did see Coastal Carolina, amass a total of 3 turnovers in the game. So great stuff there from their defense in, terms of generating turnovers. So yeah, love what we're seeing from Coastal Carolina here as they go on the road to take on the Marshall Thundering Herd, who are 6-3 on the season. They come into this game winners of 3 in a row, but yeah, wins over Georgia State, ULM, and USM. I'm not really going to be freaking out about that too much, but got to give them credit. They are beating the opponents who are in front of them. In their win last week over Southern Miss, guys, a 37-3 blowout. You will love to see that if you're a Marshall fan, but Southern Miss, they're only 1-8 on the season. They are 0-5 in conference play. So like I said, not going to be overreacting to wins like that. Marshall did a great job of running the ball, albeit against a weak opponent. We saw okay stuff in the passing game, although 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 220 passing yards. Not exactly lighting the world on fire there for Braylon Braxton. We'll see what they're able to do in this one. Fitzpatrick did have 2 receptions for 78 yards. He had a 69-yard catch. Nice. But just in general, not, this isn't happening against a good opponent, so I'm not going to overreact too much. They did turn the ball over twice against a pretty bad team. That's not a great look. They're going to have a much tougher time going against the Coastal Carolina defense. It's going to make things a good amount harder for them. On defense, Marshall looked great. 3 interceptions there and a fumble recovery, so 4 total turnovers. I don't think we're going to be able to, I don't think we're going to see them replicate that in this one. They did a good job against the running game. They did a good job against the passing game. Like, obviously, you give up only 3 points. Like, very little I'm going to be able to gripe about there. But like I said, it was against a terrible, terrible opponent. On the season, guys, we see that Marshall, they're tied for 44th, scoring 31.2 points per game. So that's nice. But they're 60th in defense, giving up 23.3 a game. And it's not like they faced the toughest schedule necessarily. So we're going to see, it's going to be a test for them in this one, guys. Coastal Carolina, they are getting 8.5 points here playing on the road. We've got an over-under of 56.5. Coastal Carolina 4-5 against the spread this season, 6-3 to the over. Marshall 7-2 against the spread and 5-4 to the under. Guys, I like Coastal Carolina here plus 8.5. I feel like they are much better than their 5-4 record would indicate, as this squad has faced just about the toughest Sun Belt slate that any team could go against. Coastal Carolina looked very good in their last outing, getting past Appalachian State at home, and they rank slightly better than Marshall on the offensive side of the ball, and we see them being able to keep pace on the scoreboard. I feel like Marshall can be a bit too reliant on their ground game, as the Thundering Herd rank just 113th in the nation in passing. So definitely give me Coastal Carolina in what I expect to be a very close one possession type of game. In terms of that over under of 56.5, I'm once again leading a bit towards the under, guys. Both teams likes to run the ball. I think that is going to result in, points being at a little bit of a premium. Moving right along here, guys, we are looking at the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They are going on the road here to take on the USC Trojans. Nebraska comes into this game, guys, riding a 3-game losing streak. I mean, losing at number 16 IU and at number 4 OSU, not a terrible look. Their last loss, though, a 27-20 loss against UCLA. They probably wish they could have that one back, but they haven't been a terrible team this season. They've got some decent wins. They played some very close games against some very good opponents. So we'll see what Nebraska can do in this one. In that loss against UCLA, guys, like I said, a 27-20 loss, a very, very close ran thing. We did see some positive signs. I mean, the Nebraska passing attack isn't going to be incredible. I'm not really in love with Dylan Raiola or Henrich Harbor, but regardless, I think we could see them do a little bit better in this one. Definitely a bit of a bounce back spot after getting picked off twice as, a unit there. And yeah, only completing 16 of 34 passes for 209 yards. It was not a great day for Nebraska in the passing game, but the running game is where they really want to concentrate, guys. Dowdle, 17 carries, 61 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns there. And as a team, maybe not insane numbers, but yeah, we took some negative runs there in the quarterback group. So yeah, a little bit rough, but I liked what we saw from Isaiah Nayor there in the receiving game. 8 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown from him. I think we could see him get loose, and Nebraska did a good job taking care of the ball, except for those 2 interceptions. So hoping for a little bit of a bounce back here from Nebraska on offense. I mean, obviously they haven't been an insane offensive team this season, but their defense is pretty decent. They did a good job of limiting the run last week. They did struggle a little bit against the passing game of Ethan Gabbers there. I mean, he had 2 passing touchdowns and 219 yards against them. Nebraska didn't force any turnovers in that game, but despite it not being their best game overall, guys, they played a very, very close game. It came down to a 7-point game there at the end. So yeah, not hating what we're seeing from Nebraska. They're 22nd in the nation in defense, giving up only 19.1 points per game. That's a pretty nice look. They made a change there, offensive coordinator, so we might see some changes there on offense to boost that offense. It's only putting up 23.6 points per game. So we'll see what they can do here, going on the road to take on the USC Trojans, who are not having the season they imagined, guys. They're only 4-5 on the year. They come into this game fresh off a 26-21 loss there at Washington, so that wasn't one they were really hoping to lose. And yeah, they've got a loss at Maryland, a loss at Minnesota. Like, this team has taken some rough losses this season. This is not what the expectation was for USC coming into this year. So yeah, a little bit rough at Washington last week, guys, and it just didn't go their way there. In the end, they lost 26-21. So a very close game. We saw Miller Moss 3 interceptions in the game. He did pass for nearly 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he threw the ball 50 times. Like, a kind of a track meet kind of game. Weird to see it end, with only 47 total points. But yeah, the running game looked okay. Marks had 123 yards on 22 carries and a rushing touchdown. We saw Zachariah Branch go off for 102 receiving yards and only 6 catches. So yeah, some positives there for the USC offense, but man, they just could not hold it down on defense. And on offense, they couldn't hold on to the ball either, guys. Too many turnovers there. But on defense, they gave up 262 very efficient passing yards to Will Rogers. They couldn't stop the run of Jonah Coleman. He had 23 carries, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We also saw Washington turn the ball over 0 times, which is something, that Nebraska needs to concentrate on. If they can limit those turnovers, they can probably keep things close or even beat some very good teams. So we'll see if USC can bounce back a little bit. This is a team that's not having a great time. Nebraska 5-3-1 against the spread this season, 6-3 to the under. USC 5-4 against the spread and 5-4 to the over. Guys, I like Nebraska here getting 7.5. I liked it a lot more earlier in the week when they were getting 9.5, but they've been a tough team to get a read on this season, as they've shown pretty well in some of their tougher matchups, but they've been a bit inconsistent throughout. I'm surprised to see Nebraska lose at home their last outing against UCLA, despite coming off a really impressive 4-point loss on the road against Ohio State the week prior. Maybe it should be expected to see ups and downs from a team that is a true freshman quarterback, but I expect this to be a solid foundation for Nebraska to build around going into the future with Dylan Raiola. The USC football program continues to disappoint under their head coach Lincoln Riley, as the Trojans have now lost 4 out of their last 5 games in the Big Ten. It is crazy to think this is the same USC team that beat LSU to open the year. Although USC has been better at home than on the road, we like Nebraska getting the points in this one as the better bet. In terms of the over-under here, guys, not a huge lean on the over-under. Maybe just take a little look towards the under, as neither team's been really putting up crazy points, but definitely like the Cornhuskers here getting over a touchdown. Next on the docket, guys, we are headed over to the Sun Belt to look at the Arkansas State Red Wolves going on the road to take on the Georgia State Panthers. Arkansas State comes into this game fresh off a tough loss there against Louisiana, albeit the best team there in the western part of the Sun Belt. So, got to cut them some slack there. But at 5-4 on the season, the Red Wolves have done some positive things in that tough loss there against the Raging Cajuns, guys. They just couldn't really keep up on offense. We saw a pretty bad game there from Jalen Raynor. The running game there from Arkansas State was fully online, though, guys. 39 carries, 209 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Cross and Spencer both looked great there carrying the ball, so only some major positive things here for a team that needs to concentrate on the running game, no doubt about that. But when they get it going, and they can get it going even against good opponents, good things can happen. So yeah, feel pretty good about that. They did turn the ball over twice, but those were both interceptions, so I think it's time to take the ball a little bit more out of the quarterback's hands, although they were getting blown out in this game, so they kind of had to throw it. So yeah, in general, on defense, they had a very rough time. They generated 0 turnovers, gave up a lot to the run, a good amount to the pass as well, but they were just kind of outclassed here by a Louisiana team that's very, very good. They're 5-0 in conference play and 8-1 overall. So yeah, not going to draw a ton of crazy conclusions from that. This was a game that the Red Wolves were pretty much never going to win. They're 50th in the nation in passing yards per game. They're 103rd in points for, though, and that's not great, and below 100 in points against. So a little bit concerning, but in this matchup, guys, I think they've got a pretty decent chance because they are taking on the Georgia State Panthers, who are only 2-7 on the season. They are currently winless there in the eastern part of the Sun Belt, 0-5 in conference play, only 2-7 overall. Their last game, they got absolutely blown out at JMU, so that's not a great look, guys. Georgia State just not a very good team right now. The passing game looked mediocre, 24 of 37, 231 yards, and 1 touchdown there for Zach Gibson. So, I mean, I guess not a disaster, but the running game looked terrible. Not only they got a ton of work, but I mean, 27 carries, only 46 yards. So yeah, they pretty much got dominated by James Madison. Just not a great look. No wide receivers going nuts. They fumbled the ball away once. So only 1 turnover in the game isn't terrible, but they had no answers on defense, giving up 38 points. They could not stop the pass. They could not stop the run at all. They couldn't generate turnovers either. Like, just a very, very rough game from a Georgia State team that's not that great, guys. They're 115th in the nation in points per game. They are 109th, giving up 31.9 points per game. This just is not a very good team, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Arkansas State, they are 3-6 against the spread, 5-4 to the over. Georgia State 1-6-2 against the spread, 4-4-1 to the over under. We see Georgia State, they are favored by 3 points in this game. That is crazy talk to me. Give me Arkansas State here +3. Although they did lay an egg in their last outing, we're still surprised seeing the Wolves giving points on the road against a Georgia State team that's winless in conference play. Arkansas State proved they could win on the road in conference against manageable opposition as they won at Southern Miss by a final of 44-28. Georgia State has fallen in 6 straight games. We'd be surprised if they turn things around this week against the Red Wolves. Georgia State also didn't look great in their last outing, falling to James Madison in a blowout. Arkansas State has more to play for at this point in the year, and we like the Red Wolves to come through here with the win and cover. In terms of the over-under of 51, I'm going to be siding just slightly towards the over, but yeah, not an over-under spot that I'm really in love with. Staying in the Sun Belt here, guys, we're going to be looking at the South Alabama Jaguars going on the road to take on those Louisiana Raging Cajuns that we were just talking about. South Alabama comes into this game, guys, fresh off of a 34-30 loss against Georgia Southern. So, yeah, a tough loss there. They've had some wins this season, but they haven't been particularly impressive against Georgia Southern, guys. I mean, it was a close game, but they gave up a huge lead there. Like, they got outscored 20-0 there in the fourth quarter. Not a great look. Gio Lopez had a decent game, especially at the beginning of the game, completing 22 of 30 passes for 257 yards, 1 touchdown, but that 1 interception was pretty costly. The running game did look good. Bullock, 17 carries there, 101 yards for him, so nothing to nothing to be worried about there. And we saw Pritchett, he caught 12 balls for 170 yards and 1 touchdown, so definitely seems like they've got a preference in terms of their favorite wide receiver there. But generally speaking, guys, turning the ball over once, not a huge deal, but in this game, giving up a huge come from behind against a pretty good opponent. Not a great look there for South Alabama. On defense, they had no answers, especially there in the fourth quarter. They gave up 3 passing touchdowns actually, and well over 200 yards passing, 0 interceptions there. They didn't struggle aggressively against the run, I guess, but they weren't great against it either. And yeah, just not a great game, guys. They generated 0 turnovers in that game. And the South Alabama defense, not really something to write at home about this season, guys. They are giving up 25 points per game. So it's not the end of the world, but it's also not great. they've been a much better offensive team, but only against terrible opposition. And that's not what they're going to be facing in this game, guys. They are going up against probably the best team there in the Sun Belt, the only undefeated team in conference play, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who come into this game fresh off of a 55-19 beat down there against Arkansas State. So very, very good stuff there from Louisiana. They've only lost one game this year, and that was against Tulane in the early goings. They have been absolutely rolling here lately. This team is looking dominant. They can move it through the air. Ben Woolbridge, a very solid quarterback option. 17 pass completions on 26 attempts, 264 passing yards, and a touchdown. 0 interceptions there. The running game was very much on. They had 6 rushing touchdowns in the win, 278 yards on 32 carries. Very respectable there. They did not turn the ball over in the game, and on defense, they were, similarly dominant, only allowing 19 points in the game and generating a couple turnovers, and just doing a great job there across the board. Louisiana continues to be a great team, and that is why we like them here -7.5, guys. We've been resistant to crowning Louisiana as the best team in the Sun Belt this year, but it's hard to deny it right now. We felt Louisiana was a bit more competitive in their wins, but we'd like to see from a top-tier squad, but the Cajuns put that to rest in their last outing, destroying Arkansas State. The Cajuns are starting to run away with it in the Sun Belt West standings, 8-1 overall, 5-0 in league play. Although we feel like South Alabama is better than their 4-5 overall record, we didn't like what we saw from them last week, losing at home to Georgia Southern. In their last outing on the road, South Alabama didn't look great either on offense, losing at Arkansas State 16-18. Yeah, a crazy low-scoring game there. Louisiana has the momentum, and we look for that to continue as the Cajuns get the win and cover here in this game. And in terms of that over-under of 59.5, I'd probably shade just slightly towards the over, but not a huge lean on that. Definitely love Louisiana here at -7.5. Next on the docket, guys, we are looking at the Arizona State Sun Devils. They are going on the road to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. Arizona State comes in this game fresh off a nice 35-31 win there over UCF. So, taking care of business in that one following, they followed up their nice 41-21 win against Oklahoma State with that win there at UCF. So, good things, or at home against UCF. So good things going here for the Arizona State Sun Devils, guys. In that 35-31 win, we saw, very good quarterback play. Only 16-25, so not insane, but 161 yards, 3 passing touchdowns there from Sam Leavitt. Very good stuff. Definitely they'll take that every day of the week. Kyson Brown was good in the running game. 18 carries, 73 yards. Nothing wrong with that. It wasn't an insane running game, just in general from Arizona State, but they got the job done. Jordan Tyson went nuts in the passing game. Two receiving touchdowns, 99 receiving yards. And we saw Arizona State not turn the ball over in this game a single time. So very, very good stuff there from the Sun Devils on offense. And on defense, things looked good as well. They had an interception in the game, only gave up 229 passing yards. They did a okay job, not a great job against the run. I'm gonna be honest, guys, not a great job against the run. They gave up 25 carries. RJ Harvey, 25 carries, 127 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns against them is not great. We also, only saw Arizona State generate that 1 turnover, but 1 is better than 0. So got to give them some credit there, but they really gutted out a close 35-21 win over a solid conference opponent. So we liked what we saw from Arizona State in that game in general. I mean, over the course of the season, they've been, a decent offensive team, 42nd in the nation, putting up 31.6 points per game. And on defense, not terrible either, 62nd in the nation, 23.8 points per game again. So we'll see what they can do here, taking on the Kansas State Wildcats, who are 7-2 on the season. They come into this game fresh off a 24-19 loss there at Houston. So that's not a great look. Houston, not really a team you're supposed to be losing to there in the Big 12, although they've done some positive things here in the second half of the season. I guess we have to give them some credit, but Kansas falling outside of the top 25 after that tough loss. In the loss, guys, Avery Johnson looked pretty bad there at quarterback, picked off a couple of times. He threw 1 passing touchdown, so I guess we got to give him credit for that, but a little bit of a rough day, no doubt about that. The running game also not looking good at all. 34 carries, only 89 yards, and that 1 rushing touchdown. They turned the ball over with those 2 interceptions, so that's going to make it a lot harder to win. And on defense, they gave up only 24 points, which isn't awful, but they allowed Zion Chris to complete all 11 of his passes for 103 yards and a touchdown, and they didn't have a ton of answers there for that Houston ground game. So yeah, a pretty rough day out there from Kansas State overall. It makes us a little bit worried about them being 7.5-point favorites in this game. Arizona State's 7-2 against the spread this season. They are 5-4 to the over. Kansas State 3-6 against the spread, and 4-1 to that over-under. Guys, I like Arizona State here. I liked it a lot more when they were getting 9 points than when they're now getting 7.5, but they've covered for us in a plethora of situations this season, and we're seeing them being undervalued again this week. Although the injury status to Arizona State's starting running back is a concern, we like backup running back Kyson Brown enough for the Sun Devils to weather this situation. It also helps that Arizona State has a very capable dual threat quarterback who helps out in the ground game as well. Kansas State is a team we've really wanted to buy in on this season, but the Wildcats simply haven't been as consistent as we were hoping to see. K-State took a bad loss in the last outing, losing at Houston, and yeah, Arizona State actually ranks higher than Kansas State in terms of offensive output this season. I see the Sun Devils staying very competitive in this game. I don't think it's impossible that they win this game straight up, so definitely give me the Sun Devils and the points in this one. And I would say this is probably a spot you might want to look slightly towards the under, since, I don't see either team going absolutely bonkers out there. But like I said, guys, my main lean in this game is going to be the Sun Devils and those points. Next on the docket, guys, and don't get mad at me, we have the Tennessee Volunteers, the number 7 Tennessee Volunteers, going on the road to take on the number 12 Georgia Bulldogs. Now, I'm only going to be giving out my pick on this game on the over-under. We have a premium pick on this game from our NCAA football expert over at Stump the Spread on the side in this game, so I'm not going to be able to give that one out, but I just wanted to at least mention this game. It is the biggest game on the slate, guys. We see Georgia, they're minus 9.5 in this game. We've got an over-under of 47.5. Tennessee comes into this game 8-1 on the season, so a very good record. They just got a 33-14 win there over Mississippi State. Although that is the worst team there in the SEC, so I'm not really going to freak out about that too much. They've done some positive things this season, though, in that win over Mississippi State. I mean, 33-14, not really a true blowout, but we saw pretty good quarterback play from Tennessee. No interceptions in the game is a very nice look. Dylan Sampson was a monster there in the running game, 30 carries, 149 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. The team combined 57 rushes for 240 yards, so putting up some decent numbers. Dante Thornton Jr., very good game, 3 receptions, 140 yards for him, and a touchdown. He had that 73-yard catch. Pretty wild stuff there. Tennessee did fumble it away once, but only 1 turnover in the game. Isn't terrible, but when that's against a bad opponent, definitely something you're going to be wanting to cut down on as much as possible. You cannot be turning the ball over against good teams. On defense, they were dominant against Mississippi State. They didn't give up very much to the pass. Gave up a decent amount to the run there of Devon Booth, though. So that's something to monitor coming into this game. They gave up 179 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns on 38 carries. So yeah, not a great day for the Tennessee run defense. But over the course of the season, guys, Tennessee has been pretty okay there on defense, guys. They're 5th in the nation, giving up only 12.6 points per game. So we'll see if they can, replicate that kind of success in this one. I think that could be kind of a big ask as they're going on the road to play against the Georgia Bulldogs, who are 7-2 on the season. They come into this game in a bounce back spot, guys, fresh off of a 28-10 loss there at number 16 Ole Miss. Obviously, that is a tough opponent there, but man, Georgia cannot be happy to see that's a rough look, guys. That's a rough look. So we'll see if they can bounce back here. It was not a banner day there for Carson Beck. He only passed for 186 yards and 1 interception in the game. He completed 20 of 31 passes, not the kind of stuff we're used to seeing from Carson Beck. So definitely a bounce back spot for him. In terms of the running game, not a great day on the ground for Georgia either. Definitely something that's going to have to improve here, as they head later into the season. It's going to, they're trying to make, the college football playoff. They're trying their best, but man, taking that loss, a very, very tough look last week. So we'll see what they can do here, on defense a big part of their problem on offense, guys, they turned the ball over twice. They fumbled it away twice and were picked off once. Like, you can't turn the ball over 3 times against a very good opponent and expect that to end well. They didn't do amazing on defense either. Giving up 28 points isn't the end of the world, but they struggled a bit against the run. They struggled a good amount against the pass as well. Jackson Dart had a pretty decent game, although Georgia did have 1 interception and, had a couple chances at some fumbles, but they couldn't quite recover them. So we'll see how they're able to, bounce back from that loss in this game. In terms of the over-under trends here, guys, Tennessee, they're 5-4 to the under. Georgia is 6-3 to the under. Guys, the over, interestingly enough, is 5-1 in Georgia's last 6 games as a favorite when they're playing against top 10 teams. And with an over-under here of 47.5, I'm definitely going to side just a little bit here towards the over as my free pick on this one. But like I said, guys, we have a premium pick on this game against the spread over at stumpthespread.com. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats going on the road to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. Cincinnati comes into this game 5-4 on the season. They're fresh off of a 31-24 loss at home against West Virginia, though. So yeah, a little bit of a tough look there. That's not an easy opponent necessarily, but when you're playing at home, you're definitely hoping to have a little little bit more success than that. In that 31-24 loss, guys, we saw Brendan Sorsby. He didn't look amazing. He was picked off once, one passing touchdown. He did complete 25 of 36 passes, so it wasn't a horrifying day, but just not enough to get the job done in that costly interception. Corey Kiner had a great time running the ball, 25 carries for him, 91 yards in that rushing touchdown. As a team, Cincinnati, 43 rushes, 157 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So not a bad game at all. Liked what we saw from Cincinnati in the ground game for sure. The passing game didn't look terrible either, guys. Evan Pryor, 5 receptions, 100 receiving yards, and that touchdown. So pretty good stuff there. But Brendan Sorsby, guys, he personally accounted for 3 turnovers in this game. He fumbled it away twice and was picked off once. You absolutely cannot do that. So he's got things to improve on. I'm not saying it's impossible that he does improve on them, but definitely got to take better care of the ball. On defense, guys, it wasn't a terrible day by Cincinnati. They did a great job against the pass, really. I mean, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They gave up 156 passing yards, and they stifled that Virginia running attack, that West Virginia rushing game, guys. 28 carries, 92 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So really a very good day on defense there from Cincinnati. So I'm hoping and, well, expecting continued success from Cincinnati on defense, guys. They're only giving up 22 points per game, so not terrible at all. Definitely like what we're seeing there from the Bearcats if they can just clean up those turnovers there on offense. So we'll see what they can do going on the road to take on Iowa State, who's 7-2 on the season. They come into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses. They lost a 1-point heartbreaker there against Texas Tech, and then last week they fell at Kansas, guys, 45-36. So yeah, things headed in the wrong direction right now for Iowa State. I mean, that's a tough loss against Kansas. We did see Rocco Belched, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. The running game didn't really get going that well for Iowa State, guys. They did what they could, but yeah, only ended up with 78 yards on 24 carries. They did have 1 rushing touchdown, so that's something positive. Jalen Noel looks like an absolute monster out there. 8 receptions, 167 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Very, very good stuff from him. Just, yeah, can't have that turnover, and got to get a little bit more going there in the running game, and they need their defense to play better, guys. Giving up 45 points against anyone, not a great look. They had no answers there for Jalen Daniels in the passing game. They could not slow down that Kansas rushing attack. So yeah, just not looking like a very good defense right now from Iowa State, guys. I mean, over the course of the season, they're 21st in the nation, giving up only 18.8 points per game. But the last, I would say, 3 weeks, that's looked pretty rough out there for the Cyclones defense. So we'll see if they've got a bounce back in them in this game, guys. Cincinnati, is getting 7.5 points here playing on the road. We got an over/under of 53. Cincinnati 4-4-1 against the spread, 5-3-1 to the under. Iowa State 5-4 against the spread, and 5-4 to the over. Guys, we're gonna be on Cincinnati and the points. This is more of an anti-Iowa State pick, as we haven't been pleased with what the Cyclones have shown us over the past couple of weeks, losing as favorites against Kansas and Texas Tech. Iowa State was in the driver's seat to make a run at the Big 12 title, but that's now in serious question given their recent results. Cincinnati has been better than we were expecting this season, and the Bearcats have been consistently competitive against their Big 12 opposition. Cincinnati transfer quarterback Brendan Sorsby has been just as good, if not better, than Iowa State quarterback Rocco Belched this season, and I don't think anyone expected that coming into the year, although we'd be surprised if Iowa State didn't bounce back with the win at home. We feel better value is on the road team and the points in this game. And in terms of the over-under of 53, guys, I'm going to be leaning a little bit towards the under. I don't think either team's going to put up crazy offensive numbers, but like I said, this is definitely more of a spot to be on the underdog than on the over-under. Last but not least here, guys, we are looking at the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They're going on the road to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels in an ACC showdown. Wake Forest comes into this game. They are fresh off a 46-36 loss there against Cal. They're 4-5 on the season, 2-3 there in ACC play. They've had some decent wins this season. I mean, at UConn, at Stanford, those are okay wins, but yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough way to go here for the Demon Deacons in that 46-36 loss against Cal, guys. We saw Wake Forest do some positive things. Unfortunately, Bachmeier, 3 interceptions in the game. That kind of cancels out your 2 touchdowns, but I mean, 274 passing yards, not too much wrong with that. The running game looked very respectable, guys. Callie 23 carries, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown, so not too bad there. And Taylor Morin is a monster in the receiving game, guys. 9 catches last week and 110 yards for him. So they were doing some positive things, don't get me wrong, but fumbling it away once and throwing 3 interceptions, you can't turn the ball over 4 times in a game and expect to come away with a win. That is very rarely going to happen. I mean, on defense, they did some positive things, but they had very few answers there for the Cal passing attack. They were okay against the run, so we'll give Wake Forest a little bit of credit there, but Cal is a pretty decent team there, especially on offense. They've had a rough time in conference play, but they're doing some positive things, and they are a bit of a scary offense overall. In terms of season-long numbers, guys, Wake Forest has not been a great defensive team. Their offense has been respectable, though, so got to give them some credit there, but we've seen some ups and downs here for the Demon Deacons. So we'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels. Speaking of ups and downs, this is a team experiencing some ups recently with a 35-11 win at FSU last week, and the week before they got a blowout 41-14 win at UVA. So they're coming back home for this one. We'll see what they can do. They haven't had that much success over the course of the season, only 5-4 on the year and 2-3 in conference play. At Florida State last week, that 35-11 win. Nice stuff there from the running game from North Carolina. 55 carries, 289 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, got to give him some credit there. The running game was looking great, and Jacoby Criswell didn't look terrible in the passing game either. No turnovers there for North Carolina at all. All this, guys, has to be taken with a grain of salt. This was against Florida State, who is 1-8 on the season and 1-7 in conference play. North Carolina was dominant there on defense, no doubt about that. But like I said, against a very, very bad opponent. They didn't force any fumbles. They forced 2 interceptions, though. So, I mean, I'll give them some credit there. But over the course of the season, guys, I mean, how good has North Carolina's defense been? 80th in the nation. Not anything that I'm going to be writing home about. The running game did look respectable, though. Got to give them credit for that. So, looking at the numbers for this game, we see North Carolina is -11. We've got an over-under of 63.5. Wake Forest, 2-5-2 against the spread, 6-3 to the over. UNC, 2-6-1 against the spread, and 6-3 to the under. Guys, I'm riding here with Wake Forest and the points. Both Wake Forest and North Carolina have had fairly comparable results this season, and both squads sit in the lower half of the ACC with conference records of 2-3 overall. There's no denying North Carolina has been much better in the last couple of weeks, grabbing those blowout wins against Virginia and Florida State, but we're still a bit skeptical of the Tar Heels. North Carolina has lost in 3 straight home games, and it's tough to forget that 50-70 loss at home against James Madison the Tar Heels took back during the non-conference schedule. Wake Forest has been consistently competitive against unranked opponents, and the Demon Deacons are an impressive 3-0 in road games this year. We like Wake Forest to stay competitive enough in this game to get us the cover. And in terms of that total of 63.5, guys, I definitely like the under in this game. Both teams want to run the ball. I don't know how often they're going to get in the end zone. So, yeah, getting all the way to 64 total points seems like a big ask. Definitely a lean towards the in this game. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.